you very much for being here and for having interest in choral music in Argentina. Thank you, Lorenzo, and Fondazione Guido d'Arezzo for inviting me to be here. It is really the first time I do some formal presentation, so I am very nervous of that. And you can imagine, as a conductor, I am a very practical person and not so experienced conducting PowerPoints and audios and videos. So excuse me if something is not maybe right.
Se non serve che traduca, si risparmia tempo. Per questo momento.
So English is also my fourth language, so I try to do that easy and simple, and please tell me if you don't understand what I tell you. I can explain or try in other languages. Excuse me if the PowerPoint, if the pictures are not so in a good design. That is because I asked many colleagues in Argentina to send me information in order to show you what's choral music in Argentina. Yes. For example, how can I go there? Yes. I would like to introduce you Argentina for the first. Yes. No. I have problem with the pictures. It doesn't work. Fare clic per inserire le note. No.
Proprio la freccia in giù? Cioè,
Sì, io ho fatto la freccia. Ok. Okay. Argentina, as you see, is the southest country in the world. That's not mean not the last one, but the southest one. And talking about Argentina, you can see, for example, that we are 45 million people. Quasi 4,000 kilometers from north to south and 1,400 kilometers from east to west. We have the second high mountain in the world, of course, and we have also minus meters in South Patagonian, 25 provinces, 5 Nobel Prize, 1 Pope, and the Iguazu Falls, that is one of the 7 wonders of nature, and many interesting things. So many plants and birds and animals, and so different climate also. But what is very interesting is that we have, in the second half, at the end of the 19th century and the first half of the 20th century, a big immigration from Europe. And we receive in this time more than 6 million persons. They coming from Europe. And that's do Argentina a really multicultural country. And for example, the last research tell us that the genetic map of Argentina is composed of more than 60% European ethnics, quasi 30% different native, American native ethnicities, 400 Africans and 1% Asian ethnicities. That do our country really multicultural. And of course, for the choral music, this European immigration is very, very important. I can tell you that after that. cannot give you, unfortunately, exact numbers of how many choirs we are in Argentina, or many conductors. But I can tell you that we are really many people doing choral music, and we have, of course, choirs of different types, so children choirs, mixed choirs, youth choirs, female or boys choirs, seniors choirs, and so let me talk about different activities that we do in Argentina in order to show you how is the choral is seen in my country. For example, we have some associations. That is important because, of course, we have many choirs, and the choirs are supported by the audience, very good, but not by the government. And that is the reason that we have a lot of little associations and bigger associations. They work together, and one of my believed association is, of course, ADICORA. It's the Choir Conductors Association of the Argentina Republic. And for example, we have in ADICORA, in the last census, 1,000 conductors are associated. But not all conductors in Argentina are associated in ADICORA. So you can imagine how many choirs in Argentina there are. Yeah? If one conductor has minimum 3 choirs for a big country as we are, it's many choirs. So ADICORA has, this is Argentina, and ADICORA has a total from 22 different points, and of course one national board. And ADICORA organizes festivals, workshops, congress, seminars in every of these provinces, in every of these points, and sometimes also national events. Of course, cooperate also with other associations, national associations and international associations, doing some exchange programs. Last year, for example, we organized some projects with Chile and Uruguay, so some regional experiences, and of course also with international associations, choral conductor associations, or IFCM, World Symposium, for example. And we are working also in doing some projects for the government, so in order to have more support from the state. That is the ley, this is a law, Fomento a la Actividad Coral. So we put in the Congress, we tried twice to put in the Congress a new law for supporting the choral music in the country. And we got the half support in my province in Santa Fe the last week, so we are very happy. So that means that the senators should talk about choral music in our province. In my province, Santa Fe, is a province with a lot of immigrants, especially Italian, German, Swiss, and they brought, of course, a lot of choral music when they come to Argentina. And so in every little town there is a choir, and that is beautiful, that is important for the society. ADICORA has, because we are conductor but we love also sing, we founded 2 years ago, 3 years ago, ADICORA choir. So in my opinion, it's not a good choir because you know we are all conductors. but as a project, it's a really good project. So the Adicora choir came to the World Symposium last time in Barcelona, for example, and last year they went to Mexico in a festival, and they will do an exchange with Brazil, in Brazilian, next month. And this is for the region very, very important. You know, Argentina, because of the tradition, the new choral traditions, not like in Europe, of course. In our country, it's really new and young tradition. But if you compare Latin America choral tradition, is Argentina very important and really as a model. So we have the mission to spread choral activities in our region. And then there are, for example, in another association who is in San Juan. San Juan is in the west part of Argentina, and Los Andes, and they organize, for example, three different events. I can try to do some music and un momento. Nah. Hi. And maybe you can listen to music. That sounds the final concert of the San Juan Canta last year. How can I? Hey. Anna, can you help me please? I cannot get out. Sei uscita. Ah, thank you. To stop? No, I want to continue that you can listen and read maybe at the same time. This is the final concert of San Juan Canta, one of this event. It is also a competition. Oh, sorry. So I'm sure I can conduct choirs, but not PowerPoints. So, listen and yes, but see the maybe stop. Because it's also music. Ah, okay. So the organizers are the Coro Arturo Beruti, and San Juan is there, in the west part of Argentina. There's also a festival for children's and youth choirs every year. And they began to do also a congress, a Latin American congress. And the next edition is in 2 years. It was this year in Jan. So that was the final concert. Okay. And it is another association, OFADAC, Organización Federada Argentina de Actividades Corales. There are many, many little associations. They work also together, and they do the Congreso Argentino de la Música Coral, so Argentinian Congress of Choral Music, and many other events. And the last event, and they are very proud of that, is the Directores Sin Fronteras. So they are conductors who go to remote places in Argentina, founding choirs, teaching choral singing and conducting. And they are the dates for these years, in October and December. Another example for association is Asociación Argentina para la Música Coral América Canta, so AMCANT. And they are, for example, they manage América Canta, and you know América Canta sounds like Europa Canta, and we will have América Canta 10, the 10th editions in 3 years. And the first 2 editions were in Argentina and come back to Argentina in 2 years, in Mar del Plata city. This is 350 kilometers south from Buenos Aires. For the other countries that in what took place, América Canta, and they do, for example, also competitions in choral music, interpretation in Argentinian and Latin American choral music. This year's is the 10th edition, with very good renowned juries from Argentina and South America. They do also seminars, workshops. This year, for example, with Digna Guerra from Cuba. And there are little fundación also in Santa Fe, Fundación Meridian, concert workshops, master classes, commission works, competitions, also with renowned conducting teachers as Josep Prats, and productions. And we have, since more than 20 years, one publisher in Argentina specialized in choral music. We used to be the subsidiary of Ricordi many years ago, but it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And since more than 20 years, GCC. You have also in your tables some catalogs, and I have more that's for you, of course, free, to have an idea of Argentinian music. This is a lot of arrangements of Argentinian music, compositions, and also old music from Latin American cathedrals. And since 3 years, an Argentinian conductor who lives in Germany founded also published specialized in Argentinian and Latin American choral music. This is Goldberg Musikeditionen in Germany. So you have also for free some catalogs, different kinds of music. I think education is important in order to see also how the choral is sent in Argentina is. And you can study conducting in Argentina. There are 11 public and private universities around the country where you can study conducting. Most of them are not in Buenos Aires, of course, but in the province. In Buenos Aires, only one. And also some conservatories, I think 8 conservatories, official conservatories. You can study conducting. And children's and youth education in choral music are also important. When I visit many countries in Latin America, I realized that not a lot of countries they have music lessons at school, and that was for me very strange because we have weekly music lessons in every school. So each children in Argentina has music lessons, minimum 1 hour in the week. We have not choirs at school, that's a pity, and we are working on having more choirs, and primary and secondary school. But music education, it is very common in our schools. But there are three schools in Argentina that are really models school in choral music. Instituto Coral de la Provincia de Santa Fe is in my province, in my city where I work, and we offer, for example, 8 different choirs for children since 6 years old until young people with 25 years old. So children choirs, beginners children choirs between 10 and 15 years old, and a female, so a girl choir, and young boys choir also. And the new choir this year is an adult choir. And we offer a lot of workshops for music teacher in order to found choirs at schools. And for example, next month, when I come back to Argentina, we have to prepare a concert with 3,000 children in one stage, doing music together. But parallel with this event, of course, during the year, we do workshops for these music teachers that they learn how singing with children, how to do that properly. And we have in Córdoba and in Mendoza 2 specialized in choral music school. That means that children and youth go into the normal primary school, secondary school, and there they receive choral education. So every group is a choir, and every children has individual singing lessons. So they are really good choirs, and of course these children, and they begin with 3 or 4 in the kindergarten, singing every day. How can I do that quickly? Yes. So, I said to you that the choral tradition in Argentina is really quite new, quite young. So the choral tradition began really when the immigrants came to Argentina in the last part of the 19th century. Of course, we had music. We are a new country also, only a bit of 200 years old, and we have music, and some musicians that come to Europe and come back to Argentina and compose music, but instrumental music, most of them, not choral music. So the choral music came to Argentina, or began in Argentina, with the European founded choral associations at the end of the 19th century. And in this time, of course, choirs perform European repertoire. But in the 40s, began some composers, some very important composers, composing choral music or music for choirs. Like, for example, Ginastera, Alberto Ginastera, that is a very important name in the Latin American music. Or Luis Janeo, and you can see there are all of them European numbers, and most of them Italian. Janeo, Ginastera, Guastavino is from my country. And Guastavino, it was the first song that we listened, Se equivocó la paloma, one of the most famous pieces in choral music. It was original for singing and piano, but Guastavino himself do some arrangements, and the arrangements for choir. And for example, Eduardo Grau was, they come from Spain. Like many Spanish people, they come to Argentina at the beginning of the 20th century. And I want to show you música, some music. No, I think this is no. So the next is a video. The next one. One icon piece from Eduardo Grau, who is a Spanish that lived in Argentina, in Mendoza, and he composed this madrigal, and you can listen and hear that is, so the musical parameters are really, it could be European, and that was the music that began to be very important in Argentina, and together with a tradition of vocal groups. And so they come names like Ariel Ramirez and the Misa Criolla, that you may know, and together with the creation of university choirs. And that was really the big movement in the choral scene in Argentina. And with this movement that began a big tradition doing folks and popular music in Argentina. And it remains to be the main repertoire for Argentinian choirs. So the popular and folk music. And of course, together with composers, they began the generation of arrangers, so people that arrange for choirs music. But for example, another name that in the 60s, in the 70s, come in the music, in the world is Astor Piazzolla. And Astor Piazzolla composed a lot of instrumental music, but not a lot choral music. Only one piece of Astor Piazzolla is original with choir, and it is El Pueblo Joven, Oratorio de los Mundos, a 45-minute piece after the Opera María de Buenos Aires. He composed in 1971 El Pueblo Joven, and this is not really well known, this piece, and not also very performed in Argentina. And we do that 2 years ago in Santa Fe, in my city, and you can listen 2 minutes, the last 2 minutes. It is a piece from video. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is a piece for speaker, soloist, female soloist, choir, and of course tango orchestra and strings orchestra. Since the 90s, the choral music develops very quick and in a big way. A lot of composers compose in different, so they have different ways to compose it. Of course, not only pop music and folk music, as I said to you, but also some motets. But I think I put forward because of the time and because of the problems with the computer, because I have the audios separated. But Dante Andreu, for example, is one of the also well-renowned composers, Argentinian composers. And it is beautiful music. So Anna, maybe you can help me. Sorry. How can I go out from this? From your... Yes. Yes. Some music from Dante Andrea, and I lived some years in Europe, and when I come back to Argentina, I take like a mission for me to try and to spread so the choral music from Latin America and from Argentina especially, really as a mission to that people, especially in Europe, because I have some relationships here with Europe, know more about Argentinian music, and I really appreciate the opportunities that I have in the last years to be sometimes, a lot of times, myself as a teacher in some ateliers and festivals, and also with my choirs in many events. For example, in POLIFONICO, in France, by Europa Cantat with my choir in Torino, and also in Pech, an atelier leader, La Fábrica del Canto, twice in World Symposiums, twice also in Festival de Primavera, in America Cantat this year at Coralis 3 weeks ago, and next week in Fano by the European Academy for Choral Conductors, doing Latin American music. So I am very grateful doing that, and it is really an honor for me, and I thank you very much for those opportunities. So, and that is, for example, the trapiti that is so small, but I want to share with you a performance from new music was a composition composed special for the World Symposium in Barcelona, and this is new music from new composers in Argentina who takes, of course, some ideas from the popular music and from the ethnic music from native populations in Argentina. And that is Ritual, and this is the last song. I hope that it's work. No. That's a pity that I cannot use my computer. Perfect. This piece has elements from the ethnic music from Patagonia, in the South Argentina, from the Mapuches people, some instruments and some disposition of the culture, some instruments, and also from some tangos in the middle. So don't forget to take the music if you want, and we have more exemplars here. Thank you.